Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to episode 79 in my second series for Anno 1800. Now normally I would catch you up on what I've been doing in the previous episodes, but today we have some brand new content to try out, and that is the Seeds of Change DLC, so don't worry if you're new to the series. I'm just going to catch you up on what's going on and mostly just focus on the DLC content throughout this episode so you can just see how it plays and get all the information you need about it. I'll also have a review up on my review channel, Republic of Play, pretty soon, so check that out too if you want a more condensed version and a breakdown of the DLC mechanics. Alright, so without any further delay, let's just jump right on in. Now, I've just messed around a little bit just to get everything in order so we can begin here. For those who may have caught it, I actually streamed a little bit of this content already, about 3 or 4 hours, so I am now pretty familiar with how the Hacienda works, and I've tried to just do some things so that our background economy just doesn't fall apart while I'm busy here, but of course, that's probably going to happen anyways. Right, so in order to unlock the Seeds of Change DLC content, you just need to have obreros in the New World. So once you reach the Tier 2 residence of obreros, you then are able to build the Hacienda, and the Hacienda is really the focal point for the entire DLC. We've got some new ornaments here that we'll play around with that kind of feed into the Hacienda building itself, and then the Hacienda itself adds attractiveness to the island, and then it has this big radius around it, and that radius gets bigger and bigger the more population you have on the island. So it's not within the Hacienda, but it's the total population of the island itself. So being fairly late game, we have 2,500 population on this island, so we've got a pretty nice radius already around our Hacienda, and then we can build production buildings or residences or both within this radius. That's what the radius does. So on the stream I actually kind of had it kind of more built, a bit more centered here, but I'm going to push it just a little bit further out this way and just put it somewhere here. We can also only build one per island, and we'll put them down on other islands too. I want to put one down on this island eventually, because we can really squeeze more out of our farms and things like that, and I actually never even did that during the stream, so that'll be all new challenging content for me to try and work out, I guess, and logistical problems. But just to get the ball rolling on the mechanics, let's just get started and place it down now. I'm just going to make a little bit of room by moving some of these houses just out of the way. If they fall apart, they fall apart. What can I do? We'll get some brand new ones that are going to look astonishing anyway. But our population is teetering on the edge, so we want to be kind of quick about this and just get it done and get it done right. So let's just cut some roads, make some space. Might make some more space here as well. And we'll just get this building placed down. We can always move it again later if we need to. I think about there is probably good. Now the reason that I want to place it a bit further into the town, and some of this radius is going to be useless, right? Hey, there we go. Hacienda opens its gates. Hans von Schlong unveils a beautiful new Hacienda. A home for agricultural innovation, good government, and fine living. Yeah, so unlike some of the other DLCs, you don't get those little mini tutorial things that sort of teach you about the building, but you do get this. You have this written tutorial panel where you can read about how the actual building works. So I actually have another series on the go right now, which is this DLC came alongside the Seasons of Silver scenario, and that is part of the DLC. So in there, I was kind of looking around the tutorial, and the Hacienda actually works different in the sandbox than it does in that specific scenario. So if you've been watching that, this is going to be a little bit different. So I'll try to actually explain this, because this is really where most people are probably going to end up seeing it. All right, so our Hacienda is down. It looks awesome. And we have various modules. So it also acts as a storage warehouse. So we can just view our different goods here. There's nothing else really going on with this panel. There's no items that you can place in, but there are policies that you can enact. And we'll have a look at them in a moment, because it's not really that important right now. But the most important thing would be the Hacienda Modules. So we have 250 paving and roads. Now they actually count as the same thing, right? So street and paving. If we spend 10 of this, we lose 10 of this. So the same joint currency there. I don't even know why it's a currency, but it is. And then we have Hacienda Yonolero quarters. So the residences of Yonoleros will be in these little houses here, but they're slightly bigger than they actually would normally be. Instead of 3x3, they're now 4x4. So we'll just build just a couple of them just to get us started. Build a little road around them. Regular roads work too, or you can use the paving if you want. And then we have all this other stuff as well. Obrera quarters, Hacienda storeroom if we want to increase the storage of the island. We then have the Hacienda Farms. We have Hacienda breweries, and then we have the Hacienda Fertilizer Works. So there's a lot of stuff to check out. So starting from the start here, we want to just get our population back up. So let's just delete some of those houses that I moved over there, and we'll just kind of hope that these guys will take root, take hold. And I sort of want to build the population in and around in this way. So we're going to get rid of some of these houses. Bit of a dramatic reshuffle here. We're just going to clear up some of this terrain and this territory, and then move some things. We can place them down again later. We might have a little turbulence as we're doing this, we'll see, but I'm confident it'll be fine. So yeah, so I'm just going to build them in a big block for the moment. We can maybe reshuffle and reorganize them as time goes on to make it look a little bit nicer, but, you know, it's all good for now. Yeah. Alright, let's use the Hacienda paving just to make it look kind of nicer. So the thing with this is it actually has to connect, of course. The modules don't. They just have to be within the radius of the Hacienda. So buildings, farms, whatever it might be, it just needs to be within that radius and they'll work. But for some reason, you have this pathway that does need to connect, and it's limited. I, again, don't really understand why. If I was to be picky and pick some drawbacks with the DLC, that would be one of them. I just don't really get the gameplay mechanism or thought process sort of behind that. Alrighty, so we've gotten this whole new block. Actually, let's just fix the road here. Whole new block of houses. All Yonoleros. So you might be like, well, why would I want to put down houses that are just slightly bigger? And it's because they can hold slightly more. Well, double, actually. They can hold 20 residences as opposed to 10. But they are bigger. They are 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles bigger than a regular house. So for the... Normally, to build a house, it would be 9 tiles of space in terms of density, and you get 10 people. For 7 tiles more, you get 10 more people. So it's, people told me I think it's a 15% increase. So it's slightly more dense, you know, not a massive change. Really what I think a lot of people will end up using this for is mostly for the farm benefits that you do get, which we'll check out pretty soon. But hopefully this will just get our population growing again. So they actually need slightly different things as well. Normally we'll need a market, we'll need fried plantains and ponchos in order to grow. These guys need a hacienda nearby, so they don't actually even need a market. We could get rid of this market, for instance. Also, I just noticed that road... Oh, the road is cut there, my bad. So yeah, they don't even need a market, for instance. But then, if you want to get up to that level 20, you're going to have to supply them with schnapps and then hot sauce. Now, originally, I was thinking, oh, we'll just pull the schnapps in from abroad, and we could do it that way. But you can also make things here locally. So, with the different farm modules, let's just have a look really quickly. We have a Hacienda Farm. And if we go to our crop selection, we can see all of these different things that we can use. That's just the basic fertilities that we can choose from. And the interesting thing is you don't need the fertility on the island. So we don't have grain fertility on this island, obviously, or a lot of these different things. But we can just select whatever we want and then build them as a Hacienda Farm. And they're great because they actually take up a lot less space than a regular farm otherwise would. And I'll show that. Well, I guess I'll just show that now. So if we were to have a cornfield, and we just pop that down, it'll be 168 modules. If we select this to be corn instead, and plant that, it's only 64. And they actually output at the same rate. So you get the same amount of stuff for like way less space. 100 modules less space regarding corn. The other interesting thing then is we can still tack on the tractor barns to get even more out of it. You know, 3 times the productivity. And that's of course due to the Bright Harvest DLC. But not including Bright Harvest DLC, if we're just looking at Seeds of Change, we then have Fertilizer Silos. So, with Bright Harvest, you may remember that certain farms, animal farms for instance, can have these silos on them. If you supply them with corn, you get a 100% productivity bonus, right? So you get an extra 100% on top. We're full up right now, so we can't see that, but you know that we otherwise would. Very similarly, now, Seeds of Change adds that sort of mechanic, but for agricultural farms. So not just for livestock farms with animals, but for actual, you know, salt of the earth seeds, seed agriculture farms. So what we have to supply is dung. And that's kind of this whole other thing we'll get to soon, but you kind of get that from the animal farms. But we won't be able to do that immediately, so we'll leave it for a while, but we'll get back to it for sure. That's kind of how that works. So we'll just leave this over here for a moment. Remember, we can only build this within the radius of the Hacienda. So this, we can only build it as far out as here. So my plan is to actually, maybe let's cut this side actually as well. So let's get some of these houses and say bye-bye. And let's get rid of these obreros. Major redevelopments going on here at the moment. Something like that. And do these guys have a church, for instance? Are they all happy? They could be happier. Maybe we'll stick our church there, and it's a bit closer by, and we'll probably end up changing this around or something. So there's going to be a big redevelopment here eventually. And just to make it look a little more uniform, We'll grab that pathway. That pathway acts as a road, by the way, so that's all good. Okay, because they're going to also need some other buildings here, so we can leave that. So we're at negative 153. Now, these should grow to have more in it, and at the very least, they should grow to have the exact same. So we shouldn't really be losing too much, other than a tiny bit of space. But if we provide them with schnapps... So let's, for a sort of temporary measure, provide them with schnapps through the trade routes that we have already. Whoops. Do we have any schnapps going around the world? We do a little bit.
My therapist says money
But not to the New World.
middle age.
No schnapps come to the New World, so we'll set up a new trade route that just delivers them. Or do we need to make it here? Well, let's have a look at the recipe. Maybe we could just make it here. I suppose that is what you're basically meant to do. So let's just put down a brewery. We'll select the brewery's recipe and we'll say, yep, we want schnapps. Begin brewing. And it's going to require potatoes, which for some reason we have 1,050. Why do we have so many potatoes here? We must have some item that's maybe providing potatoes. Oh, wow, we do, yeah. Wow, that's so handy. We're actually making, 5 tons per minute of potatoes. And I don't even have a potato field. It must be coming from some item that we've placed in somewhere. I just want to check that. I just want to know what it is, you know. So let's just see where that's coming from. Trade unions all over the place here. Extra goods, coca, caoutchouc, cotton.
This is nothing short of a
There we go.
discovery.
We have the horticulturalist Herman. And he's providing 1 potato every 11 cycles. But the cycles are crazy because we have so many buildings. And they're at 350%. Interestingly, they're fluctuating though because we're full up on coca. So obviously if the building isn't spinning, we don't get the potato. But it seems like we're producing at least 3 or 4 per minute. So that means, look, we could just make schnapps for the population here pretty much without having to build even any farms for it. So that's really amazing. It's great. It works out very well for us indeed. Totally planned, of course, as all my ingenious maneuvers are. But yeah, that's great. So let's just see what the demand is. So the demand for schnapps is almost 2 tons per minute. So we'll build 2 of these. That should be plenty, and obviously we're going to be getting even more of these residences, so they should start producing that and filling up relatively soon. Let's just increase this as well. So another thing we can do is get rid of some of these timber places because they're just full up anyway. And we can just make a little bit more space yet again. And I'll just clear up these roads. Make things look a little bit more refined, a little bit more beautiful. And then we'll attach things to... We want to get these farms that we do end up building here working with our oil, our bright harvest. So we have fuel coming in here. Storage is full. A lot of there's 2 fuel depots here supplying all of these different tractor barns. So what we want to do is feed that along down this road. But as you can see, it kind of just runs out around here. So we're going to change this dirt road now to paving. Sometimes I like to have dirt roads just for the aesthetic of it. But as we're modernizing and time is going by, it's only about time that we finally get some tractor barns and whatever else to reach a bit further. And some, I guess, industry and... What's the word? Civilization to spread across the entire island. So yeah, so now we're reaching all the way down here to supply whatever farm we end up growing with tractors. And we have 10 steam motors and 20 steel beams. So I have a shipment of steam motors on the way here because I knew I was going to need it. We'll just put that down right now. So for instance, something else that we're going to want to make, and you might have spotted it. Sorry, we'll just see what this is. Riot chance. Let's just get rid of that riot chance. Alright, cool. So something else we're going to want to make is hot sauce. Brand new good that can be supplied to these guys to bring them all the way up to 20 to really get that extra population that we're missing. So in order to get hot sauce, let's have a look at what's needed to be made. So we'll just have a look at the brewery catalog. It's made in a brewery. We'll hop over to its thing. So it's literally just made from spices. Now spices, for those who may remember, if you own the Land of Lions DLC, spices are made in Embesa. If you don't own the DLC, you can actually grow them here. So we could grow it here, keep it in the family, as it were, keep it self-sustaining, but space is a bit limited, and we actually have too many spices right now, I think. So let's just have a look. Here's Embesa, all Embesa Islands selected. We'll go to agricultural products, scroll down, and there's spices. Oh, not really, actually. Looks like we are, in fact, short somehow. How the hell is that happening? So like I said, I streamed this a while ago, and it seemed like we had a total excess. We've got 20 there. No demand at Rock Lobster. A demand at Tabarine for 22. Let's just hop over to Embesa really quickly. I just want to see what's going on with that. So it says that Tabarine, this island, doesn't have enough. Apparently. Although it's not all being consumed. The buildings are offline for some reason. So I can't even remember what consumes... It's the stew, isn't it? Yeah. So this building, which we've got 4 of on the island, if I can find them. Sorry, a teff mill. There they are. They're out here. Is grinding up the spices, which is full, right? So how are we using too much of it? I guess we're just so full up that we're not even using it. So it's a weird backward way of explaining it, but I guess that we're so full up that even though the demand is high, we're not actually always using it. So we end up storing an excess amount. And because we have that excess, I'm just going to set up a new trade route. We'll just set one of our new ships to deliver this. We'll get the Industrious to go from Tabarine to load up spices. Maybe 150. It might end up doing something else with this. And maybe we'll end up making it locally in the end and not use this route. But just for now, this seems like a good way to just deliver it in and keep the space free. So we'll just set this route as Tabarine. Well, we don't need to call it Tabarine. We'll just call it spice export, because we're exporting spices out of a new group, which we actually don't have a group for this. We'll just hit accept on that one. And the group is going to be renamed to Embesa to New World. So brand new group there. So I like to group everything. We have Embesa, everything that just stays within Embesa, Embesa to the New World, Embesa to the Old World. So we've only got one route of dealing with spices coming out. So it's going to take a while for that first route to get going. And because it's going to take a while, what we could do very quickly and very temporarily is just make spices locally. So we'll switch because I don't know what I'm going to use this for yet. So we'll just make spices locally. So there we go. So we've got 96 modules of spice fields. We're going to be making 100% plus the 200% from tractors. So it's like it's like having 3 fields in one. Cranking out spices. And that's going to allow us then to copy this, switch this into a hot sauce brewery. So we've got a little hot sauce brewery here next to our schnapps. And that should start supplying all these guys with hot sauce. And then they're done, basically. That's how you do it. Alright, so while we're just about to fill up our workforce with these extra things, we can start putting down more houses. So let's get rid of, again, I kind of want to get rid of, all this area should be haciended out of its mind. So it's a lot of houses to get rid of, a lot of workforce we're hurting. And I'm just going to go Shift F, and that's going to turn off all of those. What else could we turn off, perhaps, to save us some workers? Not rum, anyway, that'd be dangerous. But we could maybe do something like plantains. Nope. One of these buildings that's full, I guess, would make sense. But there's no workers in these buildings, actually. That's how crazy that is. Yeah, I'm not really too sure. I guess there's nothing really I feel confident turning off. Maybe for a while we'll turn off the orchards and just keep that workforce going. Just for a little while, and then we'll turn them back on. Might create a mini shortfall, but it's okay. And I'd like to, obviously, then in future, once we're done with the kind of gameplay aspect of it, then beautify it and make it look a little bit nicer than it is currently. So let's just get rid of that church as well. I don't think that's needed. So we've got a church here. We're going to pave all our roads and probably make them like Hacienda paving, actually, soon. And let's just add the extra residences out this way. Yep, that works. Nice. Just about works. And then we'll just get the paving. So the paving has to be joined. And like I said, I just don't know why this is limited, you know? We've already got the mechanic for having it inside of a radius. So that's your limiting factor in terms of game design. But why they felt the need to say, oh, we're going to now limit it so that you can't even have too many pathways. But you can just have a road if you want. You don't even have to use it. So it's almost just an aesthetic choice, and that's why it's weird that it's limited or joined. It's like they had a different idea for it originally and maybe decided, you know what, it's just too restricting, and part of it is now still in the game. That's what it feels like, anyway. So what we could do as well, just to make things look a little nicer, perhaps, is we can add in some of the ornaments. So we could have a Hacienda wall. Come in like that. A delineation between the two areas. The only issue I have with this, I love these ornaments, by the way. I think they're great. But there is an issue. And for some reason, it's that there's just no basic bottom brick tile. So for instance, with this, let's see how I can show you this. If I just get rid of this road here, we've got the basic brick tile here. So there it is. It blends nicely. It's just a straight up terracotta type brick type thing that just sits on the ground. It's the very bottom texture of this that this wall sits on, you know? But for whatever reason, you just don't have that as an ornament. It's this limiting number. And that just makes it very hard to make this place look good, because everything blends with a base brick. But if I can't use the base brick, remember, I can't place this here, or here, or here, or here, because it's not adjoined to a road. Very weird, very strange. Don't really know what's going on with that. So it makes things quite difficult to make look good. For really no reason, as well, is the other thing. I just realized, yeah, so we can push these houses up a bit further later. But I think we're all good for now. Let's turn back some of our orchards on, now that we've got our population growing. Okay. And yeah, we'll just connect this road here, just like that. Just keep it working. Alright, cool. So this side of the Hacienda is all the industrial side. Not much I can do about that. Again, it might be the type of thing we reorganize a little later on when I can really judge the population and see how we're doing with it. But for now, seems good. They're getting their hot sauce finally. They have... Oh yeah, actually just remembered. In Tabarine, we just need to set a limiting factor on those spices. We don't want to take too many away at once. So never take more. Always leave 300 here. Actually, leave 350. 450. Would that be right? No, 350 is right. So one full ship can take 300, but if that was ever to happen, that shouldn't happen anyway, but one full ship can do that. Just not two. Alrighty. So anyway, back over to Marbella. Okay, so just to recap what we've done, we've placed down our Hacienda. We've got a few Yonolero residences, the bigger variants, but they're going to hopefully now fill all the way up to 20, so that makes better use of the space. Only slightly, but it does have a little bit of an impact. We've now added a couple of distilleries so that we're making schnapps to support the people here. So if we just have a look at this, we're still a little low. So this is why schnapps is probably better that you just deliver it in rather than have buildings for it here. I would contest. So for instance, I think we make a lot of schnapps over in Crown Farms, this island here. I think this is where I make a huge amount of schnapps and drinks. Yeah, 122 tons per minute. So that's a lot. So yeah, so we could probably sort out a route that comes to here from here. So let's just make a new one. And that way we don't have to make it locally. We'll save a little bit more workforce. So the Black Rose from Crown Farms, load up on schnapps. Now I wonder, are we exporting it already? Probably. But we should have plenty. Especially just like globally, we should have plenty. So we'll call this schnapps export. And again, I'll just save a little bit of... Well, actually, no, this can have to do the full thing, I think. Yeah. So do we have a cape to the old world? We don't have a cape to the new world. So we'll create a new group with this. And it might be the type of thing that has to get distributed around, because we're going to need it on different islands anyway, but we'll see. Yeah, probably. Okay. Schnapps export, accept. So, Cape to the New World, Cape to the Old World. Just want to make sure I didn't have New World to Cape already. Because obviously, sometimes it could be the other way around, right? But no, that's fine. Good. Cape to New World. And we have our schnapps export. So I'll just have a quick look. Globally, all islands. Have a look at schnapps. Is this crazy? Should I not be doing this, for instance? Nope, we definitely have a lot. We might be using it in Docklands or something, I would imagine. We're selling all our excess rum. We're selling a lot of schnapps to get grain and things like that. So I'll just set a limit, you know, some sort of limit on this will prevent us ever getting rid of too much of it. Although the annoying thing is, the limit actually stops docklands and ships from picking stuff up, so it doesn't really do that much, actually. There's no real point in having a limit. Just put the limit as 100. Just so we don't take everything. And we'll just see if we can cope. Okay. So, because I'm just trying to get through showing you guys all the different things we can see in the DLC, and then we'll kind of figure things out and optimize a bit better. What I'll probably end up doing is, like I said, deliver all these goods into this island and then send them out around the world. That's kind of what we do already, although the shipping lanes over there are getting very, very busy. So let's turn these orchards back on. How's the population now? It's still struggling a little bit. We're chewing through the timber as well. But now we can get rid of, in theory, we could get rid of these schnapps distilleries. Let's check our hot sauce. Hot sauce needs, yes, I should have just changed the recipes, actually, thinking about it. But wow, the demand for hot sauce is still even more, even with these two buildings here. The other thing is, these buildings can be affected by items. So you could have ferrous or whatever, you know, some sort of production boosting item. Like for instance over here, we actually have a free item slot. So how far can we move? So, but unfortunately the Hacienda, you know, we have our limited range. So that could be something we think about in future as well, as the population maybe grows. If we can move up there, if we can move this down here or something, or get another one. You know, I'm always low on influence, but there is something to be said about that. About doing it that way. Something else I just want to talk about as well really quickly is the different policies. So reduced resident food consumption. So you can activate different policies based on the attractiveness of the island. So our attractiveness right now is 659. But that's actually because there is a festival going on right now for the next 40 minutes, adding 250. So we're a little higher than we should be. We should really only be about 400. But it's given us increased island storage capacity if we wanted it. It's also given us affects lumberjack huts and sawmills, so our productivity of lumberjack huts could be boosted to 20% if we wanted. Or affects all New World residences, reduced needs for fried plantains and tortillas by 30%. Local assemblies, if we managed to get up to 1,000, we'd get 5 influence for every Hacienda Obrera quarters that we build. So I'm always hurting for influence. So every Obrera household that we built, now granted it'll be a 4x4, it would give us back 5 influence. But it's pretty difficult to get to 1,000 attractiveness, I would say. What you have to do is build something like a zoo or a museum or something like that, right? So doing that costs you influence. The more modules you have, the more influence it's going to cost you. So it kind of just balances out. I don't know. Maybe in future I'll be able to try that out and see if we can manage it, where we actually gain influence rather than sink it in. You'd have to have a lot of those Obrera households to make it worth it, though. And then affects all harbor buildings on the island is the unloading permits. Now this would be awesome. I was just talking about how the shipping lanes are so busy over here that we have ships waiting and stuff. Well, we wouldn't have that if we could just manage somehow to have 2,000 attractiveness, basically 1,750. But over here, attractiveness is actually usually in the negative. Again, we have a festival going on, which is nice, but they're sort of randomized. Can't guarantee having that that attractiveness level there all the time. So I have no idea how I'd get 1,750 attractiveness without having just a massive zoo somewhere. So it's not really worth the space, in my opinion. The space is really tight in the New World. People always say, you know, why don't you just kill Arthur? Eventually, sure, maybe I will, but it's more fun having kind of a constraint of some sort. It makes you have to think and plan and optimize, so. Plus, I don't want to just have another 10 episodes of just shooting ships into an island. We already did it with Lady Margaret. And the only rule in our game is to keep Benty alive at all costs, and she is alive. This is her only island now, whereas Lady Margaret is at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so we're struggling a little bit with the workforce. Of course, that's because schnapps is low, and even the hot sauce isn't fully meeting the demand. It looks like we're going to need at least 4 of those, which is quite a lot. Yeah, hot sauce. We're still only making just about 2 tons per minute, so we're going to need 4 of those. So let's check then the agricultural consumption of spices. The consumption is just around 2 tons per minute. So even just that one farm is totally doing us fine. and we're going to be bringing some in through the ship. So if we check our shipping lanes now, and see how, have we got there yet? We have the Embased to New World. It's got its 150. It's just called the Industrious. It's probably intercontinental at the moment. There it is there. It's going to be the only ship on this route, actually, so we can always see it if we know that's in between. So that's on its way. That'll be here in no time, and then we can check the schnapps. Same sort of deal with this one, but it has to try. It's just actually about to arrive and pick up those schnapps for the first time. Something as well people might be wondering about is, does this DLC have new music? And it actually doesn't in the main sandbox campaign, but it does in the scenario, and it's great music. I really wish they would add it to the New World. It would be very fitting. I think it's great. But I guess maybe they want to theme it so it's like a slightly different region, you know? If you have a look at the world map, that expedition takes place down here, or that scenario. So the Seasons of Silver is down here. So I guess it's like kind of the New World, but not really. It has its own sort of sound. So I can appreciate that aspect, but at the end of the day, I would like the new music. I'd like the option, I suppose, to have it. Alright, so the schnapps are going to take quite a while, but there's 300 on the way. Excuse me. And then the workforce should grow again, so I'm not too worried about that. So while that island is now waiting on various things, let's unload the steel beams here. I think I need some down here as well, actually. No, there's actually quite a lot. I'm going to unload some steam motors on this island. We're going to unload some over there as well. Right, so on this island, we can have a look now at getting a hacienda set up. This island is really, really tight for space, but the great thing now would be we can condense these farms, perhaps, or get more out of them if we needed to, and also the animal farms, or we could build haciendas out here to maybe see would it be more space efficient. We can only have one hacienda, sorry, but I mean more residences. The thing that actually takes up the most space in my new world is all the orchards, and this is to do with the tourism DLC. Like, we have all these things making camphor wax. They're actually full right now. And then we have citrus. So I find that to be a huge bottleneck. There's just nothing that I can do to condense that down. And when I was showing that on stream, people were like, oh, well, there are items, that can help your, orchards. And granted, I'm aware of those items, but orchards are built in such a way that they have such a huge size in terms of radius. There's only so much you can do with it. Like over here, I have a crazy amount of items affecting orchards to really squeeze the most out of it. And this one, it's just maxed out actually, because it's actually really efficient. And I don't use that much resin. But resin is like, I've got more resin than I'll ever need. And the same thing then for like things like hunting cabins. There's a certain point where it's like, oh my god, there's been a fire out here. There's a certain point basically where it's like I've only got so much influence. I can't put down like one of these next to every orchard I have in the new world, Because look at the spacing of things. It's so fragmented. I could maybe have one like here. That could affect 3 and boost them a little bit better. Maybe clearing off the space of like one extra orchard, perhaps. But I find that to be a bit of a struggle. Sorry, our ship is here. We'll just drop off some of those things. Cool. Nice. I'm just going to actually grab one of them. I might need a little bit more for that other island. Yeah, you don't have to click that button, by the way. You can just press Control-click, and then you'll get a little notification when the ship arrives. So that's pretty cool. Let's try building a hacienda out on this island now. So, hacienda. I'm going to get rid of, again, more wood. I think I'll save a lot of space. I'm just going to probably pull in timber from Docklands or use the space we have, for instance, in Crown Farms. I've got a whole island doing nothing in the Cape, for instance. So if I really wanted to, we could just use this as pure wood and just pick all our timber up here and distribute it around the world. So there are solutions to certain things. Definitely, I could save some space. But it's all about figuring out what tasks to do when. But we'll just clear this space for a moment. We'll put down a hacienda here. Nice, so we've just freed up 2 ships there. Okay, so this hacienda, what we can do with this now is start to collect dung. So what we need to do that is a Fertilizer Works. So a Fertilizer Works produces 1 fertilizer every 5 minutes. And the thing with the silos that affect agriculture is they consume 1 fertilizer every 5 minutes. I think that's it. Yeah, so you only produce 1 every 5 minutes, but you also only consume 1 every 5 minutes. So what that means is you need one of these buildings, a Hacienda Fertilizer Works, for every single silo that you plan on having. So unlike Bright Harvest, where you've got like, you can easily have like 10 silos, you know, at the expense of like something like 10 grain, or 1 grain per minute. Whatever, 1 grain field, you can have like 10 silos, whatever it might be, you know what I mean. You produce a lot of grain way faster, for instance, than you produce fertilizer. Fertilizer is very slow, and that means you can only really afford to boost the farm a little bit. So you have to really pick and choose which farms you need to get more out of. So a struggle in my campaign at the moment would be that I'm struggling to get more coffee and finally hitting that what's the word, bottleneck of where coffee is getting difficult to manage. Now, I'm actually not struggling to get coffee beans. The agricultural side of things is fine. It's more the roasters and getting the workforce and the space to get more roasters. It's quite difficult. We're getting a bonus to workforce right now, so I don't actually have as much as it's letting on. But yeah, I want to get more coffee, basically. And the only way to do that is to get more roasters. The only way to get more roasters is to save some space on something else and put them down, right? So that's where we're at. So this island's going to have a big treatment of a hacienda at some point where we start putting down the obrera households, because then at least we can get 40 obreras in one house for the expense of 7 extra tiles. And, you know, as you can see, there are little gaps here and there. It's things that try to make this place look beautiful, but I think we're just going to have to squeeze harder and harder and push these houses a bit further together and squeeze more out of it, essentially. So lots of optimization coming in the next few episodes of this series as we try to build more and more engineers and things back home. The reason I want to do all of that at all, I'm not just trying to push population just for the sake of it. What I'd like to do, I try to build nice cities, and what I'd like to do is just fill this last area up with more engineers and investors. So in order to do that, as you can see, the economy's like not doing too good. In order to do that, what we'll have to do is supply some of the stuff that we're just on the edge of, which is like coffee and sewing machines and a few other little problems I've got. So it's all part of the plan. We're all working on it all the time. Anyway, let's get this fertilizer going. So what I'm going to have to do is make space for it, obviously. Fertilizer is interesting. So it basically needs animal farms around it in order to get dung. But to be honest, we could probably just build even like 1 or 2 here. See, I'm just so out of space. It's crazy. Can't build them here. This would be outside my influence. Let's just get her.
This represents an extraordinary breakthrough in the field.
Don't know why there's no sound on that. There we go. So there's 4 fertilizer works. So that's pretty good. We get a lot of fertilizer this way. That means I can support 4 farms. But obviously the workforce is taking a big hit because of that. There's 30 people needed to work in each of these. And let's just make these roads a little bit better. So, what that means is we've got dung. Dung is just automatically collected from these various farms. And I'm sure there'll be plenty. Dung, you can actually check it in the statistics screen anyway, but dung on the island is 6 per minute, so that's plenty. And now our fertilizer is going to be just 1 per minute until they... Yeah, not even 1 per minute, because it takes 5 minutes for each one. We've got 4. So we're almost at 1 per minute. The thing is, it's like, okay, well, we need more houses then to sustain this, but I don't know anywhere I can do that, so I'll just have to see if we can place some houses here. But then it's like, oh man, I need a church and stuff for them. We could try put a few down. So there's some extra houses, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that'll be 100 just there, but they need their road connection. This requires adjacent building. Sorry, excuse me. Let's just get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oh my god, they just died instantly. Holy crap. This should work, right? It's connecting to this, I thought. No? Yeah. I don't know why that one deleted itself. Alright, good. So there's some extra houses. So a little hacienda out here with some houses around it. Then we have the place getting its dung and supplying back fertilizer every now and then. It shouldn't be too big of a strain on this because it takes 5 minutes for each one, so it's so slow. It shouldn't hurt the supply warehouse too much. And that's really it. So then what we need is a ship that's going to carry the dung over to an island that needs to boost one of its farms, for instance. So these farms, for instance, could attach a silo to it and just really crank out way more coffee beans in a much smaller space. And that way we could reduce this way down and build extra roasters. Now the roasters wouldn't have all the benefits that these ones do. But I might maybe stop, you know, remove some of the buildings for cotton fabric, for instance. That doesn't seem like it's probably as needed. Although apparently it is. So yeah, but they take up less space. I could maybe put them over there. How many? 9 workers in those. What about these? 60. Yeah, so maybe I wouldn't mind moving them over because you get a bigger discount on these ones. But let's see, what do we have? Do we have someone in here affecting cotton? Cigars, coffee, and oil production. So we're getting a 10% reduction to workforce in those buildings. So those buildings can probably move. So I guess why not just do it now? You know, that's going to be the next phase. So what I was thinking is we need to place a hacienda out here if we want to get this smaller farm. And what I was thinking is we'll probably want to place it somewhere like here. You can only have one. And that would be a pretty big area of influence where we can add farms and production buildings and stuff down this way. And there's nothing else out here. So I could move this clay deposit, but you can only move... You know, we've got a limited amount of times we can move things. So it has to be a really careful decision. I'm assuming it's permanent. I wonder, can you undo it, move it back to where it was and get that back? I don't know if that's how that works. But in terms of mastery of nature, we've 6 more times we can move a clay deposit and that's it. So I moved a few down this way before. They're all in a nice line. They're never going to move again. I would have to be really, really certain of where I want to put it, you know? So we've got one here, for instance. We've got one right there. And we've got one here. So I could try and move all 3. Again, do something like where it's like, look, I'm just going to push them down by the docks and use the extra space where we can. That might be the right thing to do. It would affect things a little bit, but at least it would clear up the space so that we definitely use that space. How many is there? There's 5 in total. Oh my god. Another one there. Again, it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, they could just all be out here, couldn't they? In a line or something. Tough, man. I'm just scared to commit to it because I feel like, can you ever move them back? I don't know. Well, let's see. We've already moved some. So if I have a look over in the old world, is there a way to say move this back? Just delete this building. I don't know. I'm going to do something unprecedented and Google it. So let me just take a moment to find that out before we commit to moving one of these things. So just let me tab out for a second. It would probably take me a while of searching around to see that specific answer. It's like, my question, if I'm not being clear, is if I was to move this deposit and then I moved it back, would I get a refund on the time, you know, how many times I can move things? Or is it just permanent? I don't know. I'll have to just find that out on my own, I guess. Anyways, before getting too bogged down with that, I think, yeah, what I'll do is I will move this one. It is in an awkward spot. I'm just trying to decide where am I going to move it to. Maybe just somewhere out here, for instance. So you can move it just really off in the corner and be like, look, I'm never going to use this area. How many tiles are out here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be like it's a 4x4, isn't it? So I think I'd be moving it to there. Yeah. So what I'm losing is literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles in total. It's not that bad. I think I'm happy enough with that to say that, like, yeah, I'm not going to use that space. The alternative will be somewhere like out here, but this space is being used fairly well. Let's see. Can it go down right in this crevice here, for instance? No. So the closest would be there. Yeah. Alright then, yeah, let's do it. Let's move it here. Boom. Okay. Alright, so we freed up this spot. Sorry for taking so long with that. Just, you know, it feels like it's a big decision. Whereas we can always change where we want to put this if we want to in future. But there we go. So our Hacienda, just attach it right in there. And then what we can do is just say, look, we don't need these. Let's just get rid of those. So that's a huge amount of coffee just taken off the island now, basically. And a lot of space freed up. And my plan now is to move this somewhere over here, this over here, and this over here. And then to build extra roasters in the extra space we just created. So we can get maybe 2 more in there. So just pause that and pause that. If we have a look at our coffee production right now, our coffee production is 38 tons per minute.
We cannot catch the future Return to your
With those
post.
buildings on, it will go up to 41. Not actually as big as I thought, to be perfectly honest. Okay, it's going to put extra load on our supply warehouses, I guess, but what can you do? Now, that's going to increase also the demand for coffee beans. Coffee beans is now, the demand is 41, and the production is 24. Let me just cut this trees down here as well. So what is this building? Sawmill? Just get out of here. What are these buildings? These are ethanol plants. Okay. Alright, we'll just leave that as it is. This is such a mess of an area, actually, thinking about it. Alright, so we've all that space to work with now. And really more. Let's just cut this in further. Okay, something like that. So we just cleared up a bunch of space, but we haven't fixed everything yet. We have got to put the coffee plants, the coffee farms back, and we're using obviously more workforce now as well. So the hacienda might need again more houses around it, and then we have to supply those warehouses, make sure they have what they need. So we're not done yet. We could actually have houses even along a row somewhere out here or something, potentially. But let's start with the farms first, because we know that we're going to need them. Let's do 2. Coffee, begin, coffee. And then what we can do also now is add the tractors, and we can add the silo, the fertilizer silo, just next to each other like that. And then it's only 96, so I want to make use of this space. So we could push this up. It seems like we could probably push these up way further, you know?
The land has to be prepared first.
Although I guess we could just move them in future if we need to make room for more. Alright, let's go tractor barn somewhere like there as well. And then we'll just add the silo. And then we'll just make a road. Goes across, straight across to there. They're really going to need their own warehouse, I suppose. So let's maybe move them just a smidge. Actually, the warehouse can just go in the bottom. To make use of our space, let's do that. And this road needs to go up to feed into those different buildings. And there we go. Okay, so we've actually now increased the production over what we had. We had, I think it was, what was it, 4 coffee, what are they just called? Coffee plantations. So we had 4 coffee plantations. One of them had tractors on them. We've just added 2 tractors and 2 silos and 2 more. Oh, I just realized I made a mistake where this needs its road next to it as well. Actually, if we want to be a bit more optimal, just slightly, we can just scoot this on down. Hop that over that way, hop that over that way, and there we go. Same amount of space, but the one road serves two now. I'll just brighten things up. I know it's getting dark. Right, so there we go. So we have our silos. Let's just make these look a little nicer. We can rotate that around. Okay. So that's up to 96. That's up to 96. Coffee production is only up to 32 out of 42. Now, do we make coffee elsewhere? Tobacco. No, I guess not. So did I make a mistake? I could have sworn that we are now outputting more than we were before. We only had one tractive one. Maybe there was two. If that's good, that's fine. We can still add another one. See about there, I guess, again. We've built how many? 4 fertilizers, so we can have at least 4 silos. Oh, they still need to get their thing as well, actually, to get the boost, so that's fine. Yeah, I could have sworn. I should have checked the statistics before I actually did it, just to compare, but we're definitely saving space, at the very least. But obviously we are hurting for workforce now, so what I'd like to do then is just pop down a few extra workers. Let's just do Yonolero quarters, so moving this doesn't move everything else, which thank God. That would have been a nightmare if it did. And we could just have one here, one there, one there. Okay. Maybe that's enough actually, but that'll be 2, 4, 6, 8. That'll be 80. So we need a little bit more. And they're going to need things, obviously. They need a church, specifically, if they want to just stay happy. So we could just give them a little remote church out here. Keep them blessed. I don't know if that really makes sense. Not really. Seeing as there's no wall on the left of it. I was going to say, like, you could have this type of situation. It looks okay. Again, can't really... Can we fill that? We can only fill that because it's connected. Just like that. There we go. Ah, you know what? We'll leave it. It's okay. We could push this back and change the bridge to be a little bit more on the left, actually. That might work. Let's just see how we do. So these should grow. They should have everything they need. Actually, they're going to need schnapps and hot sauce. So that's why we need to set up a new route. So create a route, trade route. We're going to start with this island. That island and that island. So you start with this island, go to that one, go to that one, go to that one. Yeah, okay, cool. It doesn't really matter where we start, actually. But we're going to be picking up fertilizer. Should be getting made now, I think. There it is, 12 already. Perfect. Unload that at Port of Banús. Don't need to unload it at Marbella. Marbella is fine.
Perhaps it'll mean journeying to the center of the earth.
Here we want to pick up then hot sauce.
It's every person's right to change their mind.
I don't know why I can't see it. Here we go. A little bit of hot sauce. A little bit of schnapps, maybe. Oh no, actually, sorry, I'm making a mistake. Oh yeah, no, hot sauce. Yeah, I guess hot sauce, yes, that's fine. Because we are going to brew that here, and we have to. But schnapps we don't. Schnapps will actually start at Port of Banús. So schnapps, I know this is confusing, but schnapps will be here in future, and we'll unload it there. And that should be that. So let's just add one ship to this. We'll just call this New World. It's just staying in the New World. So basically, we're picking up fertilizer here. We're dropping it into here. We're picking up schnapps here. We're dropping it into here. We're picking up hot sauce. And eventually we'll bring it back around to Port-au-Banús. And that's that. So that just means the Schnapps route needs to change just slightly, because I was telling it to go straight to that island. We're going to actually tell it to go to Port-au-Banús instead. Okay. And it's on its way. Great. And we've already delivered it to that first island, so the trickle-down effect will be fine. Should be, anyway. Cape to the Old World. I suppose if I wanted to keep everything as a depot island, the Embasin spices, it's a bit of a waste. If it's just going to come in there and then just move there and not be used in anything else, then it's not needed. But if I do want to make hot sauce here in future, then it should go in there first. But I think it's okay to leave it as it is. Otherwise, I'm just adding an extra drop off, and you don't need to. So what's your problem? Still waiting on your fertilizer, of course. And then how are we going to be? We're up to 37 coffee beans. So is that what I have globally for coffee beans? So I feel like we must be getting some from other islands. 56 globally. So let's just have a look. Coffee beans. No, I guess not. So where else are we making it then that I'm not even using it? Coffee. It is coffee beans. Yeah, I was just wondering, am I spelling it correctly? I seem to be. Okay then, so let's just go all in the New World. Coffee beans goes up to 41 then. And then I'm guessing Crown Farms is what's making the extra bit. Yeah, it is. So we're making coffee beans in Crown Farms. So that's interesting, because we just made a route that delivers schnapps from the from Cape Trelawney. Now we can actually bring in the coffee beans as well. So Cape to New World is only bringing schnapps, but we could bring extra coffee beans as well, right? That'd be, so I don't know what the consumption rate looks like for that. Probably needs more coffee than it needs schnapps, to be honest. So we'll just 50-50 it. Maybe I should 40. Yeah, have 4 slots for it. There it is, 3,400 coffee. Gonna have to look at that ship. So it's called the Black Rose. It's actually at Cape Trelawney right now. Okay, we can do this very quickly then. Just go back there at the speed of time. I might have to have 2 ships on this route then, because it feels like this route's going to be busy. Because we need a lot of schnapps and we need a lot of coffee coming in. Alright. Yeah, let's just dump that in. Let's take this off the route and we'll just assign it to it like a brand new one. So the Brilliante and then the Black Rose. So both of you get to work. Alright, boom. There you go. Okay, I think that makes sense anyway. I think. It's a bit convoluted as always. Wouldn't be me if it wasn't. But that should allow us now to be producing more coffee. Coffee was something that was falling short. We now have, just even on this, actually, look at that. Even on this island alone, we've actually brought it up to 45 now. So we don't even need to be bringing it in. It's all a bit of a waste. God damn. Alright, let's head back just for a second. Maybe we can catch that ship. And just change this route ever so slightly. I'm going to change it around a little bit just so it's a bit more even. Because I think the schnapps is actually needed a bit more. Yeah. So just hit accept with that. That's fine. Just get off that. Drop it overboard. Whatever. It doesn't matter. And then get back on it. Okay. That captain of the ship must be really frustrated right now. Alright, there we go. He has the correct manifesto. Cool. Alright. Anyways, so yeah, so eventually these guys should fill up as well when they get their schnapps and their hot sauce delivered. It just means now that over here we need to set a limit on that. We don't want to take too much away from them. So let's set the minimum stock to be, I don't know, 30? Let's just say 50. So it'll take a while to actually get there. Schnapps is fine. We'll set I don't think we ever take schnapps from here, but just, you never know. And then these are our hot sauce facilities. So, but we need even more. We have lots of spices coming in, but we need more hot sauce, effectively. Okay. Now, the last thing before we wrap up the episode is we never actually built an obrero household, so I guess we could show that, show what they look like, and then also show what they use. So let's just build a few of them. So we've got a little bit of an excess of obreros, so we'll just get rid of some of them here. And then we'll add these new ones in. What is this? This is the hospital. That's going to have to change and move somewhere eventually. So we got rid of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 120. We got rid of 120 and we can put down 80. So obviously the space doesn't work out there for us. We have to kind of condense things in a bit. Oh, actually, I know where it would have been more perfect. Let's just move these just temporarily just over here for a sec. Move these back. There we go. We've got this nice little row of a 4x4 area here. Alright, cool. So if we just have a look at that, that's the Obrera Hacienda households. A little bit bigger, a little taller, a little bit more dense. Fences and different things inside of there. Different variants as well, which is nice. Little table and chairs sitting outside. And we can see what they need. So the only differences that they need is they need coffee bombins, all the stuff that everyone needs. Needs the hot sauce and everything, but they also need something called atoll. And atoll is kind of unique. Also comes from a brewery. If we jump to it, atoll comes from having corn and sugarcane, something that this island will have in abundance because we can just put down another farm. Again, we could put the farm on this side if we wanted to. We could give it the tractor barn, and then we could just tell it to be corn. Smash the corn out that way. And there we go. We're making corn. And if we want to make atoll, we just need to create a new brewery. Probably only need one, actually. And there we go. So these should get that now. That should be fine. Let's just have a look at the corn consumption rate. Yeah, we're producing 2. We're consuming 1. So if we really wanted to, we're probably going to need it eventually. Let's make 2 lots of this stuff. And the breweries all look the same. They are essentially multi-factories, you know, like the old multi-factories that we saw before. It's just you're changing what they brew. So it says with atoll on this. It says spicy hot sauce on these ones. Open air hot sauce. Nothing can go wrong with that, obviously. Alright, nice big warehouse for them as well. So, now that we've kind of seen everything, I can start to maybe clean this area up in future and make it look a little bit nicer, but... So, outside of the range of this, these houses can kind of stay the same, but this should all really become Hacienda. It's going to become very grid-like, but there's not much I can do about that. There's very little, in the realm of beauty building within this place. However, certain farms and things could be dotted around inside to make it look a little nicer in future, which I'll probably do. But these ones are built on the outside just because we need access to the oil, and the oil can only come down as far as about here, so that's why I've done it that way. We've got room for more farms here that can be pushed up right against the river. That can look quite good. Just realized we need to get them going as well. So now we're just waiting for things to kind of build back up. They can go up. Oh yeah, and the other interesting thing is these can be affected. So now these houses can go up to 46 because we've got things in here to give more workforce and more bonus residents. So even the Hacienda houses can be affected by that. So once they get their atoll, it's going to take them a long time, but they will grow to 46. So I have no doubt we'll be fine with the population then. Maybe not so much with these ones. We need a few more obreros, I think. But the cool thing actually as well is we could just do something like this. Make the place a little bit more dense. And just get a few more regulars in that way. That's all kind of temporary. Just wanted to show off all the mechanics. And I think that is pretty much everything. So just to go over it, you know, very, very quickly, we have our Hacienda. Inside the Hacienda, we can select various policies if we want that we had a look at. We've got our Yonolero headquarters, quarters, which we've built many of. We have our few Hacienda quarters. They're 4x4 instead of 3x3. They have their different needs. We've met all the demands. I never actually built the storerooms, but the storerooms are just very small little buildings that add 75 storage, which is nice. They can be built anywhere within the radius. They don't have to touch anything. Then we have our farms. We built multiple of those farms. So we currently have a corn farm and a spice farm. We have our breweries. We have 6 hot sauce breweries and 2 atoll. And then we have our fertilizer works over on our other island. So on this island, we built a hacienda all the way up here. We added the 3 fertilizers. Shoveling shit, quite literally, and then turning it into fertilizer. The fertilizer gets transported over here, and it's been then used in the new silos, which is adding a boost of 100% to here. 1 every 5 minutes is used. So we've got these farms, even though... So these farms are up to 400% because they've got various different things going on. These farms are up to 400%, even though they're not in range of a town hall like these ones are, or whatever, a trade union. So even with the no items, just using tractors, just using silos, we're able to get them up that way. And we have room for 1 more silo. We've just enough fertilizer for 1 more in future. That shaved all of the space down, which allowed us to actually put these down here. So they're probably not working as efficiently as they could be. They probably need 1 more of those, actually. So what we could do is just lower that down a little bit and maybe get 1 more of these, and then they'll work out the same. So yeah, that fixes that. So there you go. So we saved all of this space, you know, all of this space. We condensed it down. We got 2 extra coffee roasters on the go. I don't know why there's a gap of 1 there. There you go. All right, and that's kind of it, right? That is the seeds of change. So obviously that's just a very amateur level overview of it, but it's helped our campaign a little bit. We're actually squeezing a little bit more coffee out. That's the kind of resulting effect from it. That's fine. It's always like that. But yeah, it seems like there's a lot of work to be done. If we really want to squeeze a bit more out of it, and I do, I'm going to start building in this place a lot better and a lot more. And we're just kind of waiting for the population to kind of come up now that we've placed down some extra houses. They'll get there. We'll be there in no time. Especially with these. These take a very long time to grow, but they're going to go all the way up to 46, so we'll be laughing. Just want to check one last thing before we finish off, and that is that, yeah, we're making enough hot sauce. Are we making enough hot sauce even for the other island? We are indeed. I think we've got plenty of spices. I think the schnapps is going to be fine, so there you go. And like I said, you can actually do this all locally. You can have your spices come from here. You can have potato fields here, make your own schnapps in breweries if you've got the workforce to do it. I think if you're starting out a new campaign, the Hacienda's recipes will unlock the more people you have. At least that's how it works in the Seasons of Silver scenario. And that's, as far as I know, that's it. There might be some items that I haven't seen that we could look into using as well in future. And as always, if you have advice or suggestions, let me know. In the next episode, we'll focus a little bit more on Seeds of Change, but I'll probably also then hop back over and sort out any problems that we have back here. I'll be interested to see how the coffee situation is. Well, I guess we can just have a look globally. Coffee now. Yeah, we're fine. Actually, 75 to 65. So we're good. We're good for quite a long time. Room for expansion. Fill up the city even more. And then there's just a few little things. We saw this on stream. There's a few little things that are falling behind for random different reasons. So you need to be able to keep this at... Ultimately, we want to have it all the way up to 5,000. We should be able to do that. We must be missing certain things. That's preventing us doing it right now. Yeah, so I'll have to check on that. So lots to do. So yep, so that's going to be it. Remember, I'm also uploading the Seasons of Silver scenario at the moment. Struggling a little bit with that as well. So these episodes are going to come out a little bit slower because I'm doing 2 Anno series at the same time. But every 2 or 3 days, the series are kind of alternating. So hopefully people are enjoying that as well. I'm loving it. I really think this DLC is great, especially with the added scenario. It gives you... And it's very fun so far. Really enjoying it. So yep, so that's pretty much it. So that's going to be it for this episode. I'll be back in the next episode. Is going to be the Seasons of Silver, and then after that we'll be back with another one in this, focusing a bit more on the broader economy, but then jumping back periodically to the Seeds of Change just to squeeze a little bit more out of this island in particular. So yep, let me know your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for all the really warm comments on the Seasons of Silver episode. It's like unbelievably positive. I actually tweeted about it, how nice people are. It's kind of incredible, so thank you so much. And that's going to be it from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching, and remember, if you want to support this series directly, you can click the join button to become a channel member. Doing so will get your name in the credits, as well as loyalty badges and emotes to use in the comments. If you don't see the join button, it means the video has been copyright claimed, but you can still join from the channel page on desktop. You can also link your account to our Discord to get a special role on there that will give you access to the Senate House and a few other perks.